Hello, everyone. Give us just a minute to get started. My computer, of course, decided it needed an automatic restart right as I was trying to log on. Hi, Mary. Oh, good. I just texted you, but
Hey,
obviously
Tara,
it
I
worked.
can't hear you, but maybe it's
Good to know.
just me.
Can anyone else hear me? Mary can hear me. It's just you.
Okay, it's me then.
I'm going to pull up the chat. I can hear everyone. Thank you, Kimmy. Appreciate it. Natalie, can you hear me now?
Tara?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Ah,
The joys of technology.
oh,
Mary,
try now.
I'm talking now. Mary, can you talk?
Good evening.
Oh, good. I can hear you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Can you hear me now, Natalie?
Yeah, something with my headphones. Sorry, everyone. You had to work through that with us. I don't know, figure that out another time. Neither here nor now.
For some reason, your headphones don't work, and my computer, when I don't use headphones, doesn't work. So that's helpful.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we had that figured out. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday.
Yes.
Well, we'll give it like one more minute and then we'll get started. Get situated. As people join, feel free to leave comments, questions in the chat box, and we'll get to them. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, Mary. Welcome. Thank you for saying yes to this interview. For all our listeners, we're recording this live, and we have Mary T Faber. I'll let her introduce herself because I know she will give you so much more information than I would. But I will start by saying I've known Mary about a year and a half, but it seems like way longer because Mary does both Natalie and I's books for our businesses. So we brought her on today to share a little bit about bookkeeping and also just about her business in general. She has a really amazing story. So Mary, would you please introduce yourself?
Good evening. Thank you, Natalie and Tara. I am Mary Faber, and I am coming to you from Central Illinois, where I grew up on a dairy and grain farm. So I think that's how Tara and I became connected, is through our work spreading the goodness of dairy. So I live on a farm here, and we raise cattle. In my barn, I've just got a few head right now for 4-H purposes. My husband is an ag teacher and FFA advisor, and we have 2 children. Ava will be 10 in June, and Eli will be 8 tomorrow. So,
Happy birthday to him.
Yes. So he's pretty excited about that, and he doesn't want to stay 7. So we're going to let him go.
My oldest just turned 8. So that's really cute that they're close together.
Yeah. So and I have, I started my virtual bookkeeping business. Right now we're at about January 1st of 2020 is my official start date. So I've been doing this for a little over a year now.
So maybe that's where we'll start. Actually, my husband just the other day asked me, how did I meet you? And I met you at a time that I desperately needed a bookkeeper, not a full-time bookkeeper. I just need someone to come in so many hours a week and help out a little. I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't giving us good reports. And you posted to Facebook. And the only reason we're Facebook friends, we've never met, is because we both dairy, and somehow we had some mutual friend and ended up Facebook friends. So maybe start there. Like, you posted something to Facebook. I know I saw it and I emailed you or DM'd you about it. So maybe start your story like at that moment, and maybe a little bit before that, of what led you to that moment of sharing a Facebook post.
Okay. Well, if you're COVID hit in 2020. And so everything as we knew it was kind of flipped up. I had worked in corporate America and I was presented with a choice. I had to be in the office 5 days a week or else. And that wasn't going to work for my family situation. So my husband and I made the decision that I would walk away from my corporate career. I resigned and quit working there October 1st without a plan. I'm a type 1, I am a planner. So this was very out of character for me. And I took some time to reflect and kind of figure out what I wanted to do, some of that. I kept reading job posts and nothing, nothing really excited me. And for some reason, I stumbled on a Google search and on a virtual bookkeeper, and I was intrigued. And I was like, I can do this. The services that a virtual bookkeeper offer are the exact same services I have been providing my former employer for over 10 years. So I was like, hey, I can do this. So I got some liquid courage and posted a post on Facebook announcing a company and what I was going to be doing. That mentality over do something, don't wait till it's perfect. That is exactly what I did. And that's how, I got to start working with Tara. And then one client led to 2 clients, and my business has continued to grow since then. So I have the amazing opportunity to serve small businesses all over the United States, from coast to coast. And the common thread between all of my clients is rural. They're not necessarily all agriculture, but they're all set in rural locations. So, yeah.
Was I your first client then? I love that. I had no idea. I would have never known that. Like, you were so confident, so professional. I was like, oh my gosh, I think I told my husband, I think she's been doing this for years. Like, we're totally in safe hands, which we were. You've done an amazing job.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So, I mean, the interesting part is that the services that I provide my clients, the bookkeeping services, like I mentioned, were tasks that I did at my former job. So it wasn't like I was learning how to do anything. I had numerous years of experience with that. In the meantime, I did become a QuickBooks Pro Advisor. So I became certified in QuickBooks. I do work exclusively with the QuickBooks Online platform. I am familiar with the desktop version, but I work only with the online version with my clients. So I did get that certification in the meantime. And then, not all of my clients use all of my services. Every client's a little bit different, just like how every business is a little bit different. So
I want to jump in because there's a couple of things I'm really glad you shared. First, Mary, the way we met was actually you attended a Rural Rooted. And so you'll know, and if anyone else listening to this knows or has attended a Rural Rooted, they know that the night 1, when we all gather for our meet and greet, welcome dinner, I talk about how bravery, I feel like, is one of the core attributes of, entrepreneurs or successful people, is really at our cores. If we could just be really brave people, a lot of goodness can come into our lives. And so I really love that you said, I just got a little liquid courage and I was brave. And looking back, it's how much more amazing of a current future have you created for your family just from that one key moment deciding to go for it. And then I also love later on, you said you kind of just reframed your thinking. You said that everything I was doing in my business before is what I'm doing now, just in a different way. And sometimes I think we as entrepreneurs or business owners put this pressure on, our business has to be this new idea or something different, or sometimes it's just reshaping the way we are currently doing or rethinking what we're doing. So I really love that you're just kind of taking what you were already a professional about, but just kind of tweaking it and tailoring it to roll it out in a different way. We don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel all the time.
Yeah. And I don't. I kind of laugh that, I do bookkeeping services. I spend a lot of my time categorizing income and expenses, and reconciling bank accounts that, that's what a lot of my job is. And then working with small business owners and then helping them understand what those numbers mean. Each number tells a story. So that's my job, is to kind of help this owner, with the story of their business using their numbers.
So let's dive into this a little bit. Thank you for sharing that background. I love your story and I wanted people to hear that. So thanks for sharing that. But where should people start? Like, there already is conversation in the chat about, do we, I'm online or I'm on desktop thinking about moving online. How do you recommend keeping track of these numbers? And I know you say, I've heard you say, like, it doesn't just have to be QuickBooks. It can just be an Excel spreadsheet. So how do you recommend keeping track?
Okay. The first step, you've got a business, and I don't care, you have a business. Congratulations. What a huge, amazing opportunity. And you can keep track of those numbers on pen and paper. You could have a notebook and, record your income on one page and your expenses on another. Perfect. Step one. You can use Excel. I know a lot of people that use Excel, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with Excel. Granted, you do have to make sure your formulas are all in there, but again, it's another perfect way to do it. If you want to use a platform, there are other options. Like I said, I work exclusively with QuickBooks Online. But the big thing is to kind of have some way to record it. You got to record your income and you've got to record your expenses. A major step.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in really quick. So I was actually in Excel so for everyone listening, I use Mary now. Before, we actually use Mary for my personal online business, but then Mary also works with Luke for like our ranch too. Which that is probably when you're talking about like having to micromanage business owners and sort through things, that she is talking about my husband. But like a mess. So that's what I did before I went to Mary. I just had a very streamlined Excel sheet. And I was actually talking to one of my friends the other day, and we were talking about brand partnerships and money. And I was like, are you keeping track of all this? Like, do you even have an end year monetary goal? And she's like, no. I'm like, you need to start. Like, I feel like an Excel is a great entry barrier for someone who like just needs to get organized. And like you said, it's kind of just about making sure all of your, equations are correct. And then I was really good about tracking all of my income. Man, I love to be like putting in, I got this month for this brand partnership. And then I like was really bad about tracking my expenses. Like I went to the mail and I would lose the receipt. And so I do think that is something that you'll have to make sure you're a very diligent person about, is like keeping track of those. Cause you're like, oh, it's like $2 to mail that. And then you don't realize that you missed like 30 or 40 of them. And, I don't know. I just noticed that I was like, I know I'm very good at tracking all the positive things about my business, and I'm clearly rolling over a lot of my expenses. So I think that should be like a point for people listening about QuickBooks. I did want to ask you, Mary, before we go on, because I feel like the next, I want you to dive, because when I was thinking before I found out you did it for Tara and I'd even known about you, I was going to do QuickBooks for our family. And I feel like the first question for me was like, okay, what's the benefit of doing it online versus not online? So I do want you to delve into that next. But before we hit that, you had mentioned there were other platforms that people could use. Could you list a couple of those so that people do have other options? Because like, if I was to go do it, it would either be like Excel or QuickBooks. Like for me, I don't even know anything in between.
Yeah. So your other options are, there are a few very specific ag platforms out there. I'm not going to list all the names because I'm not fluent in them. Probably the most common one besides QuickBooks would be Xero, is another option. I think the most recent stat I saw is about 70% of small businesses use QuickBooks. So that's probably a little bit more prevalent. But there are other options out there. You could use Quicken, there's other platforms. So I don't want you to think that there's only one option. The platform that I know and am proficient in is the QuickBooks. So,
Perfect.
With that being said, kind of one thing before we start diving into the income and expenses, it kind of goes back to is keeping your business and your personal stuff separate. You're thinking, well, is this really a business? Is it really not? That's one thing I'm going to encourage somebody from step one is to have a clear distinction. Maybe it's an old personal credit card that you say is now your business card, and put all your expenses on it. That's going to be an easy way to start tracking, your expenses. Yes, sometimes you're going to grab the wrong credit card or something happens that there are going to be a few personal transactions in there. We're humans. But when you actually have to sort through a bank register or a credit card feed, and there's 50, 75, 100 transactions for a month, trying to sort through that, what's business, what's personal, it's a pain. And it's incredibly time consuming versus just having a set bank account and credit card that you could strictly devote to business.
Yeah, I think it's a really important discussion to have because so many of us start kind of just like, I hate the word side hustle, but we just start something that we don't. But sometimes you don't realize what you built before. You're like, oh shoot, I'm like bringing in income that I need to track. And you kind of lose, I don't know, you just lose your finger on it. And that was me. Like I was just kind of, I don't know. I was not doing it right and proper and legal. I hope the IRS never listens to this. But I just think the best advice I would give anyone now is if you're starting a business from day one, even if you're not making money like a business, still treat it like a business so that when you do, everything is lined out and it's just like very clean.
Yeah. The credit card and the bank account, like to me, that it's the easiest way to keep track of all of it and to actually see, like, if you're not sure how much you're making, by having a bank account where you are just tracking what's like income and then a credit card that's tracking expenses, it makes it so obvious as to how much you're actually bringing in or how much you're actually spending, because it just gets away from you every single month.
And it's one of those things that I'll do it next week. I'm guilty of it as a small business owner. Is I serve my clients first, and I feel like I put my own business on the back burner. So, I'll do it next month, but having all the business and personal separate, that if you do need to go back, it really makes your life easier. Like I said, I have a personal credit card that I just devote solely to my business expenses. It's got good rewards. Hey, pick a business card with good rewards, and then as the owner, treat yourself to those rewards when the time comes right. So
yeah, great advice. Use those points to celebrate your wins.
Correct.
So moving to the chat, there was somebody commented Google Sheets is also like a great option instead of Excel because you can access it from anywhere. I use that for some of tracking our personal finances. So I do recommend that. And then moving to that QuickBooks Online desktop conversation, if we're good moving there.
Yeah.
I started out when I was trying to do it by myself. I started out with online. Then I hired somebody local in town and they moved me to desktop. It didn't work out with her. I didn't know how to use desktop. Then I heard you and we moved back to online. So I have a little bit, I feel like small smidgen of insight about each of them. Can you share the differences and why you prefer one over the other or what the benefits are?
Okay. So they're both platforms. They're made by the same company. And the bottom line is they are both accounting softwares. So you're going to get the same reports. You're going to get the same profit. If you put in the exact same numbers, you're going to get the exact same numbers out. So that's where, it's not like they're one or different. Now, there are pros and cons to each, and I think that really depends on the user. For example, if you are in a rural community and your internet is sketchy at best, I am probably not going to push you towards the online platform just because online is a browser based and you need good internet connection. So that would make running your business incredibly difficult. So that one might be one reason that I'm going to say, maybe desktop. But the bottom line is you can do everything in both platforms. I've worked in both of them. I work with my business exclusively in online, and I teach at our community college where I taught desktop. So you can do that. One of the perks of online is that you can sync your bank account and your credit cards. So you can have the bank account hooked right into the online platform. so that your transactions automatically feed into your QuickBooks platform, which is a huge, huge, huge time saver. You're not having to manually key in your entries or worry about typing in the wrong numbers. Those transactions are automatically coming in and out for your bank and your credit card. I still recommend double checking and reconciling on a monthly basis because things do happen. I've had a feed miss up for 3 days, and we did miss some transactions. So staying up to date on the reconciliation is a huge advantage. Another thing, somebody did mention it in the chat, is that QuickBooks Online has an app. So you can download it on your smartphone, you can download it on your tablet. One of the reasons, there's a couple perks of that. Number one is the mileage tracker. So you can turn the mileage tracker on right when you leave your house. It tracks your miles, and you can shut it off when you get home. You can tag where you went, and it's automatically saved in your books. Probably I think the neatest feature is the where you can snap the receipt. So when you go to the store and you got your receipt right there in front of you, take a quick picture of it using the app, and then that receipt is automatically saved in your QuickBooks file. The beauty with my clients, I tell them, just take the picture, I'll do the rest. So they'll take the picture, and then you can go back in at a later date and get that transaction categorized. So that would be that. The online based, you can open it anywhere you are. So for example, if you are out in the field or you're working cattle and you got 10 extra minutes of time, you can open that platform and be able to access your books. So you can invoice, you can pay bills, you can do anything with the app, which is a great feature. So I use that just because of the flexibility with my business. So it allows me to log into my clients' books.
Tara, I'm curious, going back and forth between the ones, what didn't you, when you said like the desktop didn't work for you, what did you not like about the desktop?
So the desktop was a flat fee, I'll say that. So you paid for it, and then if you wanted to like upgrade it, you paid again. So I guess that was kind of one of the bonuses, whereas the online is like a monthly subscription. But overall, it was just, I found it harder to track. Like I think that the online one is more user friendly. Like exactly what Mary said, like tracking your mileage, tracking your receipts, like even drop down menus and the categories. In categorizing things, like everything was just more how like maybe my millennial brain works a little bit. Like it just felt very familiar to me. I will say also, like, and Mary can talk about this, the invoicing online is so easy. Like I can email people invoices straight from QuickBooks Online, and I can receive payments directly through QuickBooks. Like they can just pay with a credit card, bank transfer. There's some fees. I'll let Mary get into that, but that was something for me that the online was kind of like a deal breaker, as well as obviously having Mary be able to be on the other end of the online was also a bonus. Whereas the desktop felt very like, just on your own a little bit more. I don't know. It just was not as user friendly is probably my biggest takeaway.
So kind of talking a little bit about the invoicing is that, yes, you can invoice and email, that invoice to your client. If you don't want to email, you can print it up and, put it in the mail or physically hand it to them. Those options are still available. So if you do email it to someone, it's going to come through their, obviously through their email, and there's going to be a button on that email that says pay now. And they have the ability to enter in either their credit card information or their bank information, and you're going to be able to get paid. Get notified immediately of them paying it. You get the funds in your bank account in 2 to 3 days. There is a fee, but it's very comparable to using any type of electronic payment transfer systems that are out there on the market. So, one thing that if you, like, for example, if I send Tara an invoice, I can see if she's opened it, when she's opened it, and all of that information. So there's no more of that, well, I never got your invoice. You're going to be able to know exactly when they got the invoice and whatnot. So that is one of those added feature.
I will say with the invoicing, one thing I really liked is I feel like with brand partnerships, I wasn't doing a good job of tracking them. Like invoices from brand partnerships, it seems like sometimes they'll pay you months later and it's almost like so far out of your mind. Like I liked the invoice feature. You can send reminders, like, you check it when you receive it. Like it's just, and I know that you can do that, like obviously on Excel and other things, but being able to send like the reminder email is very helpful as well. Like, don't forget to pay this. And just keeping track of it makes it easier.
You can set up reoccurring invoices. So for example, if you have a customer that you invoice on every month on a certain date, you can get those set up and it will send them automatically. One of the added features about QuickBooks is that you can start customizing things like that to save you time. Could you do all of this in Excel? Absolutely. But this program will save you time and money in the long.
That reminds me of one other thing I was going to say about the invoicing is I know for New Mexico Milkmaid, I have several different like income streams. Like I use my consulting through New Mexico Milkmaid, my environmental consulting, as well as like brand partnerships. And those invoices look like fairly different in my mind. And it does such a beautiful job of keeping track of all sorts of different invoicing within the same account. Like, so New Mexico Milkmaid has so many different things and it just is all tracked so well within one single account.
Yeah, and you can customize your invoices to have your logo, your brand colors, and really make it look and feel like you. So that yes, you can use the basic template that they have, or you can really customize it and spice it up for your specific brand.
And Tara, I'm glad you brought that up because we talk about this a lot, whether it is in like Elevate the online course or like in-person stuff, but like we need to know our numbers. And so I think it's really smart and intentional people, if you do have different income streams coming in under one umbrella, like LLC or S Corp or whatever it is, still track those differently. Like that's what one of the things Mary does for me that I love so much is she brings back the different, like she breaks down where I'm making money, where I'm losing money, how much like it, like the I guess cost and different ones. Like, so you can actually assess your different income streams. Like that way at the end of the year, you're not like, well, I just made this much and spent this much. It's like, which one made you the most? Which one costed you the most? Which one has the best like return on value? Like, I don't know. I think assessing those numbers, I think it's really smart to try and differentiate between your different arms as much as you can if you're a business owner.
At the end of the year, IRS is only going to really care about business income and business expenses. But do those numbers help you as a small business owner when you have 3 different revenue streams, A, B, and C? What happened? Revenue stream A was 95% of your income. Mm-hmm. And where are those? Do you know that? Are the costs associated with that? So you don't have to do that in QuickBooks, but you can. I think one of the big things that small business owners, what I see do struggle with is a customization of QuickBooks, that you get in there and you have your to-do list as a small business owner is 27 pages long, that you're like, I don't have time for this. But that is something I do for my clients, is really get that chart of accounts really customized for them and their business, so that their numbers tell them. And your chart of accounts is not in concrete, that it ebbs and flows, that if as your business ebbs and flows, your chart of account can change too. So what you're doing last March may be completely different than what you're doing in this March, and that your financials should reflect that.
That brings up like 2 things that I want to touch on. Is one, like there's a question, is there a specific yearly income at which you should start using the bookkeeper? I mean, I would say no. I feel like for me, it was the point when I could no longer keep up with it. Kind of like I knew my time was better spent elsewhere. Like I wasn't doing a good job at it. I wasn't giving myself the reports I needed. And I knew that if I spent my time elsewhere, like I could generate income doing something else and give this off to Mary and have it done better. So that's kind of like, I would assume you would probably agree. Like there's not a specific number. It's, I think, where you're at in your like business owning journey.
And I think it kind of depends on everybody. I have worked with businesses that are just starting off and they don't know QuickBooks. So I will work with them. I help them get their QuickBooks set up and customized for their business so that once, you know, they're in there making sales, that, you know, the structure of their financials is already set and in place. I think that is incredibly smart if you can do that, to kind of get everything, the foundation built before you have your first sale, so that they're able to just keep the ground running. But on the flip side, I work with clients that have been in business for 6 months, and then we're going back and kind of recreating and putting information into place. There's really no right or wrong answers, but if there's going to be an area where you're going to need to invest in your business, whether it's education or training or technology or something that, you know, I look at somebody that invested in their business and now their QuickBooks was, you know, completely set up before they had their first sale. And now that they have their sale, you know, they can do it. I worked with them for a setup and like 3 training calls, and then that was our agreement. So I don't think there is a right or wrong answer. Again, where are your talents best suited? My talents are best suited doing books and not other things. I work better with numbers than words.
That is definitely the same. I mean, I definitely think, Tara, you said it best when it comes down to it's not a monetary decision. It's more, I mean, it obviously is a monetary decision because you have to pay for the bookkeeper, but I think it's more of a time standpoint decision. Like for both Luke and I, we actually outsourced because when we were like, there's other things we can be doing and should be doing. But we can't because we're caught in the weeds of like running our numbers and catching up our books. And we're not even doing them up to the standard that they probably should done. Like I was tracking in Excel. It was very basic. And so that was when it was like, okay, well, are we going to sit down and do it right? No, like our role in our businesses is out doing different things. And so that for us, that's an outsourcing. I mean, eventually as you grow your business, you're always going to have to outsource somewhere. Like we run out of time of what we can do as a business owner, and maybe keeping a tight, you know, eye on your books isn't what you want to do and you want to outsource another area, but there's going to become a time, and it's usually from a time standpoint that you have to start outsourcing something. And for me, and the same for Luke, it was like easy to be like, okay, the numbers is not where our strong suit is. It's not where we want to be spending our time. Like immediately that's an outsource we can take off of our plate so we can be doing other things.
Yeah, outsourcing bookkeeping has been the easiest thing I could outsource. Obviously having someone competent like Mary helps that situation, but it was just like, yes, like someone can do this so much better than I can. And I don't want to do it. There is a question in the chat, but before we get to it, can we back up just a little bit on like some tracking things that I wanted to dive a little deeper into? One of the things that I think that I want you to touch on, and maybe Natalie can add to this, is I know that we talk and elevate the course, and especially in our direct to consumer beef sales, like how much like you need to be tracking everything that's going into, like if you're doing apparel sales, how much, you know, are you paying for your apparel? How much is your packaging? How much are you paying in PayPal to ship? Same with direct to consumer beef, like how much is your dry ice? How much is your packaging? And that's another thing that with QuickBooks, like really looking at each arm of your business, like Natalie talked about, you need to be tracking every little detail to actually see where your margins are at and see what you need to be charging for whatever product it is you're selling, whether that's a t-shirt, whether that's beef, like, and by keeping track of these numbers, you have such a stronger, like there's so many little things that go unnoticed. Like I think was it Hannah or maybe it was Caroline in our direct to consumer beef module on Elevate Ag was saying like she tracks the gas to drive to the post office because that is another added expense in her direct to consumer beef sales. Like everything matters.
And kind of, you know, I don't want you not to pick on Excel, is that you can have all your expenses in Excel, but if you wanted to go total those up for the month, for the quarter, for the year, you're manually putting in those figures. Versus in QuickBooks Online, once you have it set up, that you can run reports for May 15th to June 15th. You could change it from March 26th to April 26th. You can change your dates with, you know, a click of a mouse. So, and then, yeah, actually taking a look at every expense there is, that mileage to drive your animals to when they get harvested, your post office runs, your post-it notes, your pens, your paper. I'll be completely honest. I'm guilty of that too, because it's just easy to add a ream of paper to my grocery pickup order. But I finally got away from that just because that is a true business expense, that I am buying that paper for my business. And what my business looks like is completely different than Natalie's and completely different than Tara's. So, what are your business expenses? And that's a very common question. And what I was told is, can you sit across the desk from a tax agent and argue that that is a business expense? Me spending a week in Hawaii on a beach is not a business expense. If I were a travel agent, you could argue that it was, okay? I have a friend that they started a liquor blog where they share drink recipes. So what do you buy when drink? What are their business expenses? Their cost of their product are alcohol and mixers. That is a business expense. So, take a look at that. My business expenses are different than yours, and vice versa. So, and that's the beauty, is that we can track it, as I kind of like to say, as OCD as you want to track. Some of my clients, we're going crazy OCD to the penny to determine which line of business is making the most money. And some of them are more not as specific. We're still getting those total expenses numbers. They're correct, versus the other one is very, very, very detailed.
Be right back while I go and Google how to become a travel agent or how to start a liquor blog. I'll be back momentarily. No, but on that note, one of the things too that we do talk about on a few of our things too is like which product within your line. Like, do you have a beef box that's performing better, like a certain size that's performing better than another size? Do you have a t-shirt that is your best seller? Right. There's another, like Natalie talks about that a lot in the course. Like, do you know if you're selling more mediums than smalls? Like, depending on how crazy you want to get, that information can be extremely valuable as you're planning for the future quarter or the future next 2 quarters, a year of what your business looks like.
Absolutely.
So Mary, this might be like a simple question, but we always think of your income and your expenses to track. Are there other things people should be tracking? Like, I know we like payroll, like, I don't know, is there other things that people aren't thinking of that like, you're like, you should be keeping track of this in your business too? Or is it like, nope, just keep track of income and expenses and you'll be fine?
Probably one thing would be mileage. Especially like I see a lot of people with, especially if they're selling meat off their farm, not picking up the cost of driving to the locker to harvest the animals and then to pick up the meat. It's so easy to get overlooked. Office supplies is one that it's just easy to add to cart on Target or wherever you're shopping, and then it gets mixed in with your household stuff. That would be another one. I kind of really take a look at it. If you were in a business, a typical brick and mortar, would that be a business expense? I always I think I've presented both of you. Imagine if you were working for a bad boss. Would you be doing this for them for free, or would you be turning in your expense report for every little dime? That's why I kind of do to small business owners is, would you be doing this for free if you worked for corporate XYZ company? My guess is the answer is probably going to be no. So then, you should also be doing it for your business. So
there's a comment in the chat about thinking about, your mileage, your home office, your electricity. I think I charge New Mexico Milkmaid for our internet. New Mexico Milkmaid is using, my phone, the same. New Mexico Milk made the business is using more of that than anything else in our lives. So I think keeping track of it like that. I also think from like, if you're doing online sales, like don't forget that, you know, if you hire a photographer to do something like, you know, family photos, if you're going to share those online and use them for part of your business, like that's a business expense. Like there are things that beyond the normal stuff that I think is business expenses, depending again, what your business is and how you can defend it.
You know, the advertising and marketing component can be, you know, you take your logo, you get your logo designed. You got this absolutely beautiful logo that you want to share with the world. And you put it on some a coat, a hat, notepad, and then you share it with your customers. That's a business expense. You're absolutely right. You go out and get a headshot done. That was one of the first things I did was I got professional headshots done and I got my makeup done. Hands down, I highly recommend it. I was like, why am I spending money that I don't have in this business on getting my makeup done and my headshots? Having those have paid for themselves several times over again. So again, untraditional expenses, but they are business expenses. I can very comfortably sit with an IRS agent and say, this is what I did. Go look through my social media feed. Okay, kind of funny. My social media feed is not that great. I am not a social media influencer. So there are the headshots out there. So when we laugh about areas of your business that you're looking to outsource, you know, that is an area that I am outsourcing on my business.
I love that.
Not my forte.
So
I'll rather do your numbers.
Yeah, and you do them so well. Well, I feel like one of my last questions, and Natalie can add to it, and it was in the comments or in the chat, is so you want to start doing QuickBooks Online yourself or whatever. Is there a class you can take? Like, do you offer one time? I think it was like, do you offer one-time meeting things? Like how, if you want to be the one to learn, what are other options? Like we've obviously talked about hiring you, but like what else is there for learning how to do this? Because I know when I first did QuickBooks Online, the first thing I did was, is there like a training? Like, what do I do? So what is out there?
Yeah. There are trainings out there QuickBooks offers. I haven't gone through them per se. I have to go through a training here, I think by June 30th to keep my certification as a pro advisor. But it's an exam. So I'll go through some, you know, modules myself to get that, to keep my certification. YouTube is an option. YouTube can help us with anything. I think the key with any type of Google search or YouTube search is putting in the right keywords to finding out exactly what you're looking for. But if you're sitting there and maybe accounting is not your forte and you're like, I don't even know what to ask, you know, again, I completely understand that. My goal is to eventually develop some online courses to help people with those exact type of things. Right now, I do work with clients in an ongoing basis. So those are the clients that I work with every month. I'm on retainer for them and I do their books based on our agreement and financials. There are some clients that I work with that are specifically training clients that, you know, maybe they need help getting their QuickBooks set up. You know, I learn about their business and then I can help them get their QuickBooks set up. And then if they're interested in providing training, depending on exactly what they're looking for, is kind of what, how many training sessions there is. If you I don't really have a one size fits all package because each small business is so different. I'd hate to have a package that includes, you know, that includes me doing your invoicing, me paying your bills, me running your payroll, in addition to managing your QuickBooks and categorizing everything when you're like, I really just need X. So that's why I really kind of customize it based off of what you're looking for. And we can always add or subtract as we go through. So my goal is that if you want to learn QuickBooks, I will teach you everything that you want to know. Some of my clients are like, I could care less about QuickBooks. I just want my stuff done. And you just send me the reports that I need. And hey, that works for me too. So, but
I
yeah,
know
I
when,
do think definitely training.
sorry, I know when I was, before I reached out to Mary, I was looking, like a lot of extension offices will have classes. I think that's who it was through.
Correct.
Or like university maybe systems too. Like there was a couple places that I was like looking into going in for the classes that people could look into with their area too. Is it through the extension office, Mary? Is that right?
I've seen them through extension. I've seen them through firm credits too.
Okay, yeah.
So definitely they're out there. Again, it's kind of, you just got to be able to find them.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think a lot of it is just getting your QuickBooks set up can be such a daunting task that, getting that chart of accounts set up. Yes, you can get there's a chart of accounts for certain businesses, but again, it's not a one size fits all. If you're in production ag, obviously look at your Schedule F and kind of go that way. But again, service-based business, you're like, this isn't. So, I know what I take for granted is that I can build those probably pretty quick versus somebody that can't. So there are templates out there that can help you. Like I said,
Were you just
Google
answering that question in the chat?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No,
I literally know nothing. I've never looked inside of QuickBooks. I was thinking about doing it. And then Tara's like, well, you should do my gal. And so I was like, okay, perfect. And so I've actually never even looked inside of QuickBooks. Like Mary does it all. So I know nothing. But I did want to ask a question because that you triggered my mind about this when you were answering a question, that there are certain things statewide that would be different, right? So does QuickBooks, like when you sign up, it takes your state and then it, like, do you know that you're tracking all the right things based off the information you put on the online one of your location? Or is there not anything statewide that would make a difference in QuickBooks?
That's when it gets down into merchandise and if you're dealing with sales tax.
And would payroll be different statewide?
If you run your payroll through QuickBooks. So you can run QuickBooks, you can do your payroll through them. And so that would be very state specific, or if you run your payroll through a third party provider. But yeah, I don't claim to know each state's rules. I can barely keep up with the state of Illinois at times. But yeah,
QuickBooks will help with that based off of the data you enter at the beginning. Okay, perfect.
Correct. And then you can, getting that QuickBooks set up and working for your business, I think is, incredibly critical. And then, working through that on a monthly basis. I get it. It's an easy task to get pushed aside, but how many times is it a week before your tax appointment that you're cramming to get all of your information organized so that you can have a successful tax meeting?
Well, not anymore because I have Mary now. But I remember a very scary tax season when I was like climbing through like all of my receipts and it was treacherous.
And honestly, and that's everybody's like, they first come to me and then we're like, well, my stuff's the worst this year. No, it's not. It's like, it's okay. We're all humans. If you were perfect at bookkeeping, you probably wouldn't be reaching out to a bookkeeper. I mean, I've been hired at this time to go back and, hey, can you go back to January 1st of 2021? Okay, that's fine. And to get your stuff organized, you have your extensions, not a big deal. We can go in and get everything through 2021 put in and get 2022 cleaned up. I mean, I get it. It's okay. So I think that's kind of with it being said is that, you can get it taken care of.
Are we going to say something?
No, I was gonna say maybe now is a good time to wrap up with the final question that's in the chat box. So
I was going to say, Mary, let everyone know where they can reach out to you if they have questions or to kind of carry on conversation to see if you would be a good fit for them with their business or their operation.
Absolutely. And even if you have questions, my website is marytfaber.com. From my website, you can learn a little bit more about myself and the services that I provide my clients. And then if you're on Instagram, it's Mary T Faber. And then I am on, I do have a profile on Facebook. Like I said,
What's your email?
Mary T Faber at Gmail.
You are very consistent and I'm very proud of you for that. Excellent job with your marketing.
Thank you. Just don't look at my social media feed, okay?
Your social media feed serves its perfect purpose to direct people to you to just contact you.
It does. It does. So that is the goal. So, but I had to admit when I signed up for Rural Rooted, and I was like, I'm not sure if this is for me, but honestly, it's for small business, small rural business owners. And it was one of the best investments that I have made in myself and in my business. So you guys really helped me to find my why. You know, how many times have you been sitting in a room and they're like, well, what's your why? And, you know, it's a little bit of writing and you just move on. Like, you really focused and helped me find my why. That my why is the flexibility, a career with flexibility. And I look at that I work a lot, but I have the flexibility that I can be there whenever my kids need me. If I get that dreaded, you know, call from school that they're sick, or there's a presentation at school during the school day, that I could do that. So that is what this business allows me. And it allows me to do stuff I love. I absolutely love working with numbers. I'm weird like that. I prefer numbers over words any day. And the opportunity to serve rural businesses all over the United States. And like I said, most of my clients are tied to agriculture. And it's pretty awesome.
I also love that what you crave most for your life is what you afford other people. So you want flexibility for your own business, and it's what you're giving all of us as business owners, which I think is pretty cool. So thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for taking care of such a good job of my books. And
Same.
Thank you.
And thanks for everyone who tuned in tonight. All right. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.